So hi guys, Tim and Toby back here again for another episode of the Far East campaign, and this episode, episode 2, we're going to be looking at the Burma campaign. This specific episode we're looking at just the start of Burma, how the Japanese kind of got motivated for the whole massive campaign, which would last from December 1941 to December 1945. So on the 14th of December, sorry, not the 14th, on the 13th of December, 13th December, pardon me, on the 13th of December 1941, Japan, basically all they really wanted is oil. So the best place to get oil is Burma in Asia. So oil has been on Japan's bucket list and mine for ever since the 7th of December 1941, when they suddenly attacked the American Hawaii island of Pearl Harbor, sinking over 100 US naval vessels and over 100 men, US naval personnel as well, because when they've taken the Hawaii, well, not really taken, when they've got rid of the American naval base at Pearl Harbor, they can then expand their territories into other places, like Tawa and Iwo Jima and other places like in the Pacific. Mainly, of course, to grab land and to fill the Empire of Japan, fill their pocket with everything, and of course oil, which Burma was one very fine place to have oil and resources. Another place, which is called Rangoon, which they actually captured, Rangoon, or Rangoon today, is called, hopefully I don't muck the pronunciation, but it's Yangon or Yangoon, that's it, what is Rangoon, which was Rangoon back in the day. So yeah, the Japanese had taken Rangoon, and also the British held kind of part of Asia, which was Malaya, the big jungle-infested area of British occupied Malaya. And yeah, so Toby, do you want to continue the story?
Yes, thank you for that. So, basically, as the Japanese charged into Burma and other places, one thing that's sadly often overlooked is they captured, thousands of prisoners, because they basically just took us very much by surprise. This then in turn led to, I would say, probably some of the worst war crimes of the entire war, full stop. So they took prisoners later on in places like Singapore, but earlier on, as you say, in Burma, and they were just treated absolutely appallingly. They saw them as literally, unworthy, really, because they'd surrendered. And as a result, the treatment they got while prisoners of war was just, starvation in the extreme, all kinds of very, very nasty stuff like that. Even against the local population, they committed really quite some dreadful war crimes. Just randomly destroying entire villages just for the sake of it, effectively. They really, really weren't especially nice to the people they occupied. And ironically, they were occupying these territories, but as propaganda, they said they were freeing them from the British imperialists, when in reality they were literally just doing the same thing with much, much more brutality. So that's something we can never really forget. But anyway, another resource they were after was rubber. They were after rubber because there's a lot of rubber growing potential over in that area. And therefore, they basically needed that for vehicles, because they were never very mechanised at all. Even there actually another thing that's not really often talked about is in Burma there were actually Dutch troops, because the Dutch had colonies in Burma. So you had Dutch colonial troops there as well, so they were all fuck fighting, so that was very interesting. So I'll hand you back to Tim.
Alright, thanks Toby. So if we skip a lot more years to basically 1945, the medal I've got on the book here is as what people would recognise as the Burma Star. It's a typical, mainly, it's the star, one of the star out of the 7 which you get for fighting specifically in Burma. So of course, as we spoke in the last episode about the 14th Army, virtually every British, Australian, New Zealander would get the Burma Star. This is, of course, is a British-made variety. There, got the Burma Star, King George VI cipher, and got its ribbon as well. But yeah, so kind of. So of course, with doing this, when Japan was invading, Japan was rampaging through Burma in Rangoon and and Malaya and that area. America had actually declared war on Japan, and they very quickly had sifted their troops right over to actually retake all those specific Pacific islands that Japan had taken before. So basically, the Americans went island hopping, from Tawa. This is not the correct order, but from Iwo Jima, Tawa, which basically, Okinawa and loads of other places like that. So then, of course, 1945 comes along. May 1945, the continuation war still goes on in Burma, and then, of course, the Japanese finally surrenders. Yeah, that's one, surrenders by August time of 1945. And that, in a nutshell, is the Burma or Burmese campaign during the Far East. So, Toby, is there anything you want to add just before we end the video?
I don't think so. I think you summed it up very well, so I'll hand you back to Tim to sign off the video.
Right, thanks Toby. So, that has been this episode on 1941 Burma. The next episode will be episode 3 on the quite appalling fall of Singapore, or really the fall of the British garrison at Singapore. So thanks for watching guys, have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.